Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Glad to have you with us as we're now bearing down on the end of September. Closer than that, the end of summer. Fall starts midweek, even though the forecast is already screaming the season of autumn. I can sum up your forecast in a very few words, and that's always a good thing. We'll go out on that good note in more detail in just a few moments. Headlines tonight include money matters and setting taxes, the forefront of a lot of local government entities and statewide as well. Tonight here, though, we'll talk about the McGoffin County Fiscal Court and McGoffin County Board of Education, among other things. We're discussing just that topic, football scores from this past Friday, and a host of other news and information. We'll begin from around the state, where it's not a new number that has been presented today as an effort and investigation from State Auditor Adam Elam, but more evidence to support that there is a real problem. Nearly 3,100, he says, medical evidence kits for possible sexual assault cases have not been tested and have instead been lying on the shelves of various local and state police departments across Kentucky. He says when a victim has the courage to undergo an invasive and traumatizing exam after an assault, he or she deserves to have the evidence in that sexual assault kit analyzed. And one of the government's fundamental responsibilities is to bring these rapists to justice. So he has proposed some new legislation which will put more money towards the testing of these kits and then getting rid of a backlog. Initially, he says it could take anywhere up to $5 million and then a continuing annual cost of $2 million thereafter. He says that law enforcement is required to submit nearly all sexual assault kits for analysis within 10 days. That is what he is proposing in his recommendations, mind you, booking those individuals and booking them into evidence, and that the state police crime lab be required to test those kits within 90 days after they get them. He says they have surveyed nearly 400 law enforcement agencies across the state, and they found 1,859 untested sexual assault kits in the possession of 87 police departments and sheriff's offices, and more than 1,230 untested kits at the State Police Forensic Laboratory. Statewide, it's a serious problem. Nationwide, they believe maybe as many as 400,000 such untested kits. An annual report shows a decrease, but still just a staggering number of deaths. Kentucky had seen last year 10 deaths and 32 near deaths attributed to child abuse or neglect. Data from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services says that is actually a decrease from years past. The numbers are a decline from last year. It was 16 in the state of Kentucky, 51 life-threatening injuries reported to kids. They say the leading cause of death and serious injury, still head trauma, as it's most always been. Substance abuse and family violence, domestic violence also are significant contributing factors. The number of deaths has actually decreased significantly since Kentucky once led the nation's in deaths of small children from child abuse. That number was 41 back in 2007. On the heels of that, briefly, a Breathitt County mom has been arrested. Her name is Marlinda Hall. She reportedly called authorities herself last week, saying that she was pushing her small child in a stroller when an ATV forced her off of her path and the baby out of the stroller, causing it to suffer and sustain injuries. However, upon investigation, she later admitted to authorities she made up the whole thing herself, and she actually used a pair of tweezers to make scratches and other injuries to the child. Money Matters will begin tonight with the McGoffin County Fiscal Court. It's tax time. Well, for us, it's not tax paying time necessarily, but tax setting time for local governments, fiscal governments, county governments, city governments, and elsewhere. The first of the fiscal year always, of course, signals such a time. In most all meetings that are happening, a lot of entities are taking the compensating rate, discussing their financial situation with a great concern. It is a trend and a pattern all across the state and the nation or to some large degree. Tax rates in McGoffin County for most tax bases are increasing, a lot of those taking the compensating rate. I'll get the exact numbers for you soon, but the McGoffin County Extension Office, which was only a 0.1%, but an increase, mind you, the health department, the library, and the county government have all seen increases, with McGoffin County Fiscal Court taking the compensating rate, which equates to, from what I can tell, the largest increase in McGoffin County. The meeting began with standard business such as approval of fund transfers, payment of the bills. The judge made a recommendation to forward $10,000 to our local McGoffin County Civil War Reenactment Committee for their next reenactment. The location still to be determined pending the status of the Civil War Park. More on that reenactment later. There was also a proclamation in form of a resolution proclaiming October Dyslexia Awareness Month in McGoffin County. The judge also asked the fiscal court to approve a limit of up to $30,000 for the Magafa County road foreman to purchase up to 2 single-axle trucks at an upcoming state sale to use to gravel smaller roads throughout the county. And there was also an insurance payment of about $5,835 forwarded to the Ramey Park for damages done to a couple of the dugouts in the ball fields during some recent storms. After that, there was discussion of an agreement to be entered into with the Army Corps of Engineers to put sewer service into the industrial park area off the Mountain Parkway.
This item is for us to enter into an agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers to help provide sewer to the industrial park. It's a little over $800,000. What we're agreeing to do is to, number one, commit that we will spend $270-something thousand. They will spend $800 odd dollars. I've reviewed the project, considering the fact that it's a $7.9 million project altogether. If the county spends about $280,000, we're looking at less than 4% of our contribution. This would be to put pipe and lift station pump down to the park. We have $1 million committed from coal severance that we saved, and we've applied for a community development block grant. I'm really optimistic we'll get it, but even if we don't, we'll be able to do a lot of the infrastructure and go back and try to get money to pick up additional homes and do some stuff to the sewer plant itself. I'd rather get the pipe in the ground. I think it'd be much easier to get help that way than to do the work on the plant and then go back and ask for pipe.
That proposal received unanimous support from the court, as did the proposal by the judge executive to take the compensating rate when it came time to set taxes for Magafa County.
I'd like to propose that we take the compensating rate for our taxes, which would bring, bring in the same money as last year. Make that in form of a motion. Real force 3.60, personal 7.08. Is there a second?
And after a second and a unanimous vote, the compensating tax rate will be put into effect. And here's how it breaks down. Tax rates for 2014 stood at, on real estate, mind you, 37.2 cents per $100 of valuation. A compensating rate will adjust that and add another 6.4 cents, bringing it to 43.6 cents per every $100 of valuation for real estate. As for the tangible/personal property tax, a much more significant increase after a much larger decrease in tax base. In 2014, it stood at 55.97 cents per $100 of valuation. It will now increase 31 cents to 87.08 cents per $100 of valuation. Following that, opening of bids for blacktop in the District 3 area.
Mountain Enterprise has bid $257,751.84. Hinkle Contracting has bid $259,521. These being the same bids, which they both agree are. I make a motion and we accept the lowest bid by Mountain.
I second.
Motion been made and second. Does anybody from Hinkle have any reason to point out to us why that Mountains is not a better bid? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. These will be for roads in Hurricane, the one where Henry Howard lives, one on Oakley, what's right hand of Oakley?
Right hand forward.
And the one on Warman, yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the last item of business was a request from state lawmakers in support for a Minors Protection Act, as was cited by Judge Harden.
We don't need that, okay. Next item is that the Speaker of the House and Senator have asked for me to write a letter supporting the Minors Protection Act. I thought that instead of me sending a letter from the office, it would be better if the fiscal court adopted a resolution that we all sign it and send it. So it's the Magafa County Judge Executive Resolution, the Minors Protection Act of 2015. Whereas Magafa County is home to a tremendous amount of coal miners, both active and retired. And whereas the UMWA 1974 pension plan is at a critical status and without intervention will become insolvent. And whereas there are numerous retired minors, dependents, and widows who live in McGoffin County and contribute to our economy. And whereas bipartisan legislation has been introduced in the United States Senate that would fund the UMWA 1974 pension plan and provide protection to 1,000 miners and their families nationwide. And whereas our coal miners have earned these benefits through decades of hard work, risking their lives to provide electricity and comfort to an entire nation. And now therefore, McGoffin County Fiscal Court hereby formally passes and adopts this resolution in support of the Miners Protection Act 2015.
The Board of Education, as I covered in their last regular session meeting, chose to keep their tax rates at the same, but it's still a topic of discussion and dealing with that shortfall, and it's also a portion of the meeting that I'll have for you in just a few moments in their most recent regular session going back to Thursday night. The City of Sagersville will have their second reading tonight, which kept tax rates the same as last year. That will be the second reading along with some other business. That during their regular session meeting, which is coming up later on tonight at 7. I'll have a camera there and a report to follow. More news following this. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. Thursday night's regular session of the McGoffin County Board of Education had some discussion centering around several different topics. One, a budget shortfall they're trying to deal with, as well as some updates on behalf of the ongoing high school projects, including the new school itself and the athletic complex, which is the latter nearing completion. Early in the meeting, an update from project managers saying that the new athletic complex, the ball fields, and everything there should be completed within a 10 to 15-day time frame. He also said that for the new high school building and project, they hope to start roofing the gymnasium sometime in October, and they plan on paving in front of the new high school and over the hill behind it with at least the binder surface this fall. That will keep construction workers out of the mud this winter while they continue their work inside the building, where it was also said that painting has already begun and that the ceiling grid in many of the rooms would start going up as soon as this week. Superintendent of Schools Stanley Holbrook briefly referred to attendance at this point of the year at 94.16, where it stood at 94.31 last year, nearly the same. He also said truancy letters are being mailed to homes and that youth service centers are following up on those letters and visiting homes of students who are not attending classes. In financial matters, Holbrook recommended that the board take a look at their bus fleet, of which they have 40 therein in the McGoffin County school system, and collectively those 40 buses travel 3,000 miles a day in the school district. And with the purchase of 4 school buses each year, that would mean the oldest bus in the fleet was 10 years old. He noted that the school system made no purchase last year of school buses, which is about a $10,000 per year payment to lease per bus. Board member David Smith responded by saying that the board might ought to take a look at getting back onto an annual purchase plan as they had once before. Holbrook then went on to make some suggestions to the board in an effort to find some avenues to which they could cut some costs.
We have what we call reciprocal agreements with surrounding counties. Right now we have an open reciprocal agreement. I mean, any kids from McGoffin County can go to any school outside the county. And then they get counted there. And so they call us up and say, McGoffin County, we need school reports on so-and-so child. And we mail them to them. They get counted over there. Okay, you can do a one-to-one agreement, which means we give them one and they give us one. That tightens it up a lot. So that means if a child wants to leave here and go to Knott County, it can't go unless they give us one. It has to stay in McGoffin. Or it has to move to Knott County. That's how that works. So that's something you can look at and think about. There's no big hurry on this. These are just ideas I'm throwing out. Not to vote on them. You can talk about them next month or two. Most all that stuff happens in the spring. But I don't want to throw it up on you in the spring and you don't have no time to think it over.
Right. And we're talking about SEEK money per child.
That's SEEK money. Yep. It runs about $4,000 per child.
So every child goes down this district.
You lost $4,000. Yep. And this is a special child. Special child is closer to 5.
You mean like a handicap?
Special ed, right, special education. All right, then you have the teacher ratio. In McGoffin County, the state ratio is this. It's 24 at elementary level, that's the state maximum, and 31 at 7 through 12 is the maximum. We meet the maximum at K through 6, which is 24. On our 7 through 12, we shoot in at 25, which can't go as high as 31. You go 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So you could up that. Now when you up that does away with some teaching positions and some aid positions. But you can think about that as a possibility in the future. So that's another possibility. And another one is site-based funding. Right now, McGoffin County Board of Education, you all furnish $137 per child at every school. And you can lower that. That's just your prerogative. You can go to $100 or $125 or $35, or you can raise it. That's just your prerogative on what to do on that. That's another idea. That'll happen till spring also. And another one is to do away with partially funded program. You've got a partially funded program, you can do away with those. So those are 4 ideas. You don't need to act on. I wouldn't act on until spring. But you need to be concerned and just looking into it and thinking what you can do that best help the students in McGoffin County.
Later, the board took the lowest bid of $234,000 submitted by Williams Electric of Sagersville for construction of the press box, concession stand, bathroom facility on the athletic fields complex. However, there's also another 18% that goes on top of the bid that goes to the state level for architects, engineers, etc., with the board saying that they will have to try to make some cuts aesthetically to the structure to get closer to the total $240,000 they already have set aside for the project. Change orders are quite common with so many projects. The largest, however, discussed was an $87,000 change order to shore up a parking area behind the newly constructed McGoffin County High School. It measures some 600 feet by 60 feet near the creek area, where they will take some of the earth down, solidify it with rock and other material so that the blacktop will maintain its integrity. And then they considered approving a working budget for the 2016 school year, with Financial Officer Kevin Owens taking a closer look since last meeting at the expected revenue for the system after the board last meeting voted not to take the compensating tax rate, but rather keep the tax rate where it was. At the time, a concern to Owens, who says that was compounded by the fact that they had lost some 60 students or so in the school system, and that equated to about $250,000 of loss for the system as well.
In the tentative budget, the one that we passed in May, I had actually cut down our revenue pretty low as a projection. So thankfully, the property tax rate that we set last month should not, it will impact our revenue, but I had budgeted low enough in our revenue so that I didn't have to lower that again.
Owens did stress that any major purchases that should come up during the school year that were not in the budget, such as the purchase of school buses and the bonding payment associated thereto, would have to come out of contingency funds. Turning to announcements on tonight's McGoffin Farm Bureau Community Calendar, Title I parent meetings pick up tomorrow with South McGoffin Elementary at 9 a.m., the Sayersville Grade School Wednesday at 1, the middle school Friday at 9, and North McGoffin Friday at 1:30. All parents encouraged to attend these meetings to find out more about Title I, curriculum, academic assessment, and what your child's school is doing to give them a high-quality education. The Recovery Rocks celebration has been set for this Saturday from 11 to 3 at the McGoffin County Health Department, complete and full of food, fun, live music, door prizes, recovery testimonies, and fellowship. The recovery community invites you to come celebrate recovery with them. And that's going to be Saturday starting at 11. I'll remind you throughout the week. The 32nd annual Homecoming and Old-Fashioned Day at the Sayersville Pentecostal Church of Christ is coming up this weekend, Saturday at 7, Sunday morning at 11. Special singing Sunday with Anointed Hearts and dinner following Sunday services. Pastor Philip Puckett and everyone at Sayersville Pentecostal Church of Christ invite you to come and join them for Homecoming and Old-Fashioned Day. A cancer benefit and bike ride in honor of two local men, Luke Lewis and Ivan Howard is quickly approaching. It's going to be Sunday the 27th. That will be this coming Sunday. They'll leave the Ramey Park and then head to the Red River Gorge and back. They're going to have food and refreshments there. $20 per motorcycle to register. And if you don't have a motorcycle, no problem. The $20 donation still gets you in for the door prizes and other things like that. All donations greatly appreciated to help support these two men and their families. If you have any questions, call 349-3664 or 349-5373. Also in support of some local families or another local family, a 5K walk run in support of Jeremy Arnott and his family. Jeremy diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic renal cancer. This is October the 4th. That's a Sunday in the Ramey Park, and it's going to be a run, walk, 5K, and you, of course, can come and donate and sit and watch if you would like. They would greatly appreciate that as well. And we'll tell you more about that when it gets closer. Also coming up in October, but just to kind of put it on your calendar, and I'll mention it between now and then, a bass tournament sponsored by the Harold Whitaker Middle School Cheerleaders on Yatesville Lake, Saturday the 3rd. Entry fee is $100 per boat, 2-person limit, and they're going to have a big tournament. If you want to find out more, call 371-3498. That's Saturday the 3rd of October. If you want to find out more about getting an announcement on our calendar, simply call me or just send it on over. And remember, you can catch programming the following day on yournewstoday.com. That's it for announcements, a few sponsors' words, and scores and other numbers coming up in a second. All right, this is going to be a little quicker than what I had planned, but I hadn't planned on running over quite this much. Getting you caught up real quickly on last week's high school football scores. Johnson Central Golden Eagles coach Matney are 3-0 after a 42-0 win over Harlan County last Friday night. That puts the Golden Eagles hosting Boyd County this Friday. Kickoff set for, of course, 7:30. Still no district or regional matchups, but as you just heard, they're coming. McGoffin County Hornets were hoping to pick up their second win of the season, but they're now 1-4 after a 6-32 loss to the Morgan County Cougars. That is also putting them at 0-2 and 0-2 in regional and district play, respectively. That puts them on the road. It's an away game this Friday at Pike Central. And it's also reflected as we turn to Morgan County and Coach Brian Turner, 32-6 win over the Hornets. Now, the Morgan County Cougars are at 3-1 right now. They've got one district win, and they're 1-1 in regional play. They're also hosting Jackson County this Friday night. And lastly, there are the Paintsville Tigers. The Paintsville Tigers, I think, are sitting close to the top in 3A basketball. Did you hear that? In 3A football. I can't find that. Nevertheless, let me just tell you this, what I do know. 39-15 over Williamsburg. That puts them at 5-0 on the season. Oh, man, what a season they have in front of them as well. They're also hosting Bourbon County this Friday night. Now it's time for the very short and very sweet of your forecast. I mean, what more could you ask for in a fall forecast? And fall getting here in about 48 hours or less. Tonight, a low of 51, mostly clear skies. The only bump or two, if you even want to call it that, would be a little fog late tonight. And, of course, that will linger around into your Tuesday morning. But I mean awesome conditions start to finish throughout the entire forecast period. I can just about say 77, a low of 56, sunny skies, mostly clear late, and then say ditto thereafter. I'll not make it quite that quick, but 77 tomorrow. That fog will quickly be gone in the morning. 79 and sunny on your Wednesday. Clear skies start to finish, and I'm going to fast forward through the forecast here just a bit. Thursday, sunny, 79, mostly clear again, 57 that night. Friday, mostly sunny, 77. Ditto would have worked almost, 57. There are some clouds in the forecast Friday night. They don't appear to be rainmakers. They also appear to be coming back Saturday night, but that's after another day of sunshine in the mid-70s on your Saturday. And then gorgeous conditions Sunday, 76, partly sunny. Told you, short and sweet and gorgeous. I'm off to the Sciersville City Council. We also have cameras at several other viewing area meetings throughout this week and next. We'll have reports on all those and other news you'll only see with me starting when I see you back here next time. For now, thank you for watching.